it's Kim again, coming to you with another card creation. My name is Kim. I'm from Wild Rose and Pearl. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based out of the Okanagan, British Columbia, Canada. Coming today to work with terrific toadstools again. Wonderful little bundle here. You get a punch and a stamp set. And then today I'm going to be working with the Brights collection of papers. There's a couple of settles in this set. With the free celebration paper, you can see that they have the soft sea foam in the back here, but I'm going to work with the brighter colors today just to punch it up a little bit. Yeah, the terrific toadstools has a celebration 6x6 paper that comes in the celebration rewards right now. You have to earn it by purchasing the bundle and a few other things to get that paper for free. It is a ton of fun. Some really cute designs on that paper. So let's play a little bit with it. This is a circle punch version, but I'm going to do a square version today just so that it shows you don't have to have more than the suite or more than the bundle and some paper to make the next card. So let's get started. All right, today I'm going to use Granny Apple Green. These are some of the colors. This is Poppy Parade and Pumpkin Pie. We'll use those in with stamp pads today to bring those colors in. But we're going to start off with a basic card base that is going to be half a sheet of paper at 8.5 by 5.5. So that's exactly half of a sheet of paper. Then we're going to bring in our cutter and we're going to do some scoring here. Now, this isn't going to be the same as a regular type of card where you score it directly in half. We're going to do some different score lines on this one for a little bit of fun. So today we're going to score it at 2.5, right there at the 2.5 inch mark. And then we're going to score it again at 6.5. That's why I have the arm out today, because we're anything over 6 inches, we got to pull that arm out. So then again at 6.5. So 2.5 and 6.5 with your 8.5 inch side at the top. Okay. Then we're going to pull in a piece of white cardstock and we're just going to cut our inside piece here and then have a scrap left over for the rest. Okay, we're going to cut this piece at 4.5 here on our cutter. So we've got 4.5, and then we're going to cut that at 3.5. Okay. Then we're going to make, and that's going to be our inside piece, 4.5 by 3.5. Then we're going to cut another piece of white cardstock at 2.5 by 2.5. There we go. It's going to be another piece. We're going to pull in another piece of Granny Apple Green. Let's see if this one's good enough. What are we at? 2.5? Nope. I need 2 3/4. I'll pull in this piece. So we're going to cut another piece at 2 3/4. There. And 2 3/4 again. There. There we go. And that's all of our pieces we need to cut. Now we're going to bring in a piece of Designer Series paper. I chose this one. As you could see on the other card, there's another design of paper. We've got this one, which has a bright pink on the back. We use this one and then another piece of paper with a beautiful leaf design on the back. So you can mix and match with the sheets. Okay, and we're going to cut it to the width of the card front that we want to mat on that card front. So a normal card base is 5.5 inches wide. So we're going to cut this to 5 1/4. And directionally, I want to make sure that we're going horizontally. So I want to make sure my design is directionally correct. Then we're going to cut the card top piece of design paper. So this is the one that has lots of the fun design. I'm going to cut this one at 2¼ by 5¼ So we cut our 5¼ already. We're going to go 2¼ and that's going to create our top piece. And then I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to cut a bottom piece. And it looks like directionally, I don't want my leaves going upside down, so I'm going to cut it this way by 1 3/4. And that's going to be my bottom piece. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to put that cutter aside because we've finished all the work. That's done all the work it needs to do. We're going to pull in these pieces here. Let's maybe do some stamping. So we're going to pull in our 2 white pieces here to get our stamping done. I'm also going to pull in a scrap piece of paper because I do stamp off in some of these situations. I stamp off. So I'm going to pull in this scrap piece of paper because I know I'm going to be going over the edges on this. Okay, so first up, we are going to stamp our little square here with a cute little design. We're going to pull in some stamp colors. We've got our pumpkin pie, poppy parade, granny apple green, and some gray granite for some toadstool stems. Let's pull in our 3 little mushrooms, our grassy knoll, our lovely toadstool, big toadstool, the stem, and the leaves, and that will move to our next one. So we're going to pull open our granny apple green, and we're going to stamp our grassy knoll on the bottom of our little piece here. Now I'm going to stamp this off a bit just because I don't want to make the mistake of stamping and missing the bottom a bit and having a white edge there. So I just want to make sure I get that all green. So I'm going to go off the edge and stamp inwards. I'm still getting the grassy knoll I need. I'm just making sure that I didn't try to line up the bottom perfectly. Didn't want to make a mess of that. Okay, so we're going to close that one up. Now, put that aside. Next up is going to be our gray granite. So we'll pull that one in. And we're going to stamp our 3 little stems with the gray granite. We're going to stamp these off to the right-hand side over here. And there we go. There's our 3 stems. Put that aside to be cleaned. Now I'm going to pull in my pumpkin pie. This is an old stamp pad. They still work though, so why not use them? Okay, we've got our pumpkin pie. I'm going to stamp our pumpkin pie and I'll show you how I stamped it. I'll bring it up so you can see. This one's a little funny in the sense that you think you should stamp it above the stems, but in actuality, inside the stamp is this little curve here. So you want these stems to come into the curve of the toadstool top. So you can see, yeah, the stamp is going through the middle of that little toadstool's top there. Okay, so we've got that done. Next up, I'm going to stamp this one here, and I'm going to use this scrap piece of paper that we had left over. So we had a couple of scrap pieces left over when we cut these pieces. So I'm going to pull in a scrap piece and I'm going to stamp a pumpkin pie. Now you know what? Actually going to stamp it in Poppy Parade. Let's make it fun. So I'm going to stamp this one in Poppy Parade just to give it a little bit more punch of a color. So let's take our Poppy Parade. And with this punch, just a little tip, it always punches upside down. So if you're working on an edge of a piece of paper, you want to save as much paper as you can, just make sure you take your your stamp here, and we're going to stamp that Poppy Parade right on the bottom there. Pow, that's such a bright color. Okay, we're going to close that one up. And I think we're pretty much done with stamping those ones. Okay. Then I need to take a little piece of gray granite. Actually, I'm going to stamp that off later. Let's do the inside. We'll do the inside just so we have all of our stamping done. So the inside now, I'm going to pull in the leaf image, and then I'm going to pull in You Are Magical. Now you could use You Are Magical, or you could use the other sentiment. So we've got You Are Magical. Just a little thank you. So if you were giving a gift card, that would be great. You Are Magical popping up to say hi, which is cute and fun too. That'll fit inside. Today I'm going to use You Are Magical, and we're going to pull in our Granny Apple Green. And I'm going to do something called second generation stamping. So what we do with that is we stamp on our stamp pad. Then to get a different shade of the same color, we stamp it off once, and then we're going to bring it in and stamp it onto the edge of our cardstock here. Then I'm going to pull in a full generation or first generation stamp. I got a little bit of hair on that. I don't know how I did that. Okay, and then we're going to stamp that first generation color just above that. So as you can see, you're getting two different tones, but it's the same, like two different shades, but it's the same color. Okay, stamp it off once, off to the side down here, and then we're going to bring in that second stamp, full strength, and stamp it just above. There we go. Close that up so I don't make a mistake. Then I'm going to grab my You Are Magical. We'll pull in the Poppy Parade again. You Are Magical. Toadstools would be where the fairies are living, so I guess it's all magical in there. Kind of fun in the forest fern grove. Okay. So one thing I love doing hikes and finding mushrooms along the hike. They're so cute. Okay, so now we've got all of our stamping done. So, and we've got everything put aside to be clean so we don't bump into it. Now let's pull in all of our pieces here and start assembling. So we're going to fold this at the score lines. Using our bone folder, we can burnish those edges. And we'll do the bottom one. Okay. Now remember, we want the big flap on the top. So we're going to make sure that one's lined up with the top. We don't want it to be this way. I mean, you could do it that way, but I do find that the top just gives it that nice rule of thirds there. So we're going to take our bottom piece here, and we're going to grab some Stampin' Seal. It's hard to cover it up. It's hard to cover up the pretty paper, but you get a little bit more variety when you use both sides. Okay. We're going to place this one centered, lining up two corners there. We're going to lay this one down. And there's our bottom. Okay. Then we're going to grab this second piece of Designer Series paper, DSP, and we will adhere that one to the top panel, of course. Lining up those two sides again, making sure we're lined up with our lower paper too while we're at it. And we're going to place that down. Look at how nice that looks. Okay, then we're going to take our little image here and we're going to place our mushroom on, and then we're going to place that on the front. So I'm going to pull in our punch. Oh, dropped my lamp there. I'm going to pull in our punch, and we're going to punch that little toadstool top there. So how I do that is I'm going to place that inside, and like I said, it's upside down in here, so I just want to make sure that I punch it correctly because it is upside down. So we take it, we move it around with our thumb. If you have a hard time doing this, like if you find that you are having a hard time because this piece is too small, let me just go grab a Post-it note. I want to show you something. Wouldn't be me if I didn't forget something. Okay. So let's grab a little Post-it note here. And the way you can extend this so that you can, if you have a small, very small piece of paper, this is a fun little tip. You can take a Post-it note, attach it to your scrap piece, and then when you go to move it around, your Post-it note is kind of giving you that opportunity to move it around without having to put your fingers in there. Don't ever want to punch your fingers in there. So I'm going to squeeze. Now I'm pinching it just a little bit. I missed that edge. So I'm going to move it over, release the squeeze, move it over, pinch again, see if I've got it all in there. I'm still not liking it enough. So I'm going to move it there, pinch. Now I love that. That's all lined up just right. And this one does not provide a white outside. Most of the punches do, but this one doesn't. It's for the look. So there we go. So that's your little trick for the day. Use your Post-it notes to help you guide your little scraps of paper. Okay, next up, I'm going to take a tiny little strip, like the tiniest little scrap of gray granite, and I'm going to punch myself out a stem because I have this lovely punch here, and it allows me to make a 3D, something a little more 3D. Now I've got some paper scraps in there. Get those out of there. Okay, pulling in this, it's 1/4 of an inch wide. It's tiny, tiny, tiny. So I'm going to pinch it again. Now I'm missing a little bit on the top there, so I'm just going to unpinch it, move that, and now I've got good coverage. So there we go. Now I've punched out my little stem. I'm going to put that in my mushroom cap. And again, the mushroom, you want this little mushroom cap to go like this. Now, I'll show you. If you wanted to do it underneath, you can. It looks a little different. When you put it underneath, you want to have that one on top. It just makes it look a little more 3D, a little more realistic. So we're going to grab a tiny little bead of glue. I'm using my 3D printed little holder here. Make sure my glue is always at the top. At the tip of my glue, we're just going to put a tiny bead of glue on there. There we go. I'm going to place that right in the middle of my mushroom cap there. And I'm going to put that aside for just a second while I put my cap back on. We'll put that aside for just a second. I'm going to then seal up my card. I just want to give that a little bit of time to dry. So now we're making a pocket. So we're only going to put adhesive on this side. You can use tear and tape. You can use Stamp and Seal if you want. Your insert is small enough to be able to fit in there without it being too tight. So we will place some glue, just a tiny bead of glue, along this edge and this edge. Just the slightest bead of glue there. Again, your Stamp and Seal works, and it is a specific width, so it works really well for this. Here we go. We're just going to place that on there. And now I'm going to push that aside to dry. It looks like I got a little bit of glue come out the side there. I'm just going to put that on a scrap piece of paper. There we go. Okay, now we're going to put a couple of dimensionals on the back of our little mushroom here, just to give it a little bit more dimension. So I'm going to pull in some dimensionals. We'll put on 3 there for a good measure so it doesn't tip back and forth. It's nice and solid. And pull in one of my favorite tools, take your pick tool here. And then I'm just going to punch the backs of those little backings. It takes it right off. Great little tool. Then I'm going to grab a tiny little bead of glue. Just a dot, really. Just a dot, really. And I'm just going to place it on the bottom there. That way it looks like my little mushroom is popping out. My little mushroom's going to be popping out. Place that higher up on my card here. Put that mushroom there. Okay. Then I'm going to grab my little piece of green here and I'm going to glue this to the green matting. So let's do that. A little bit of glue there. go. That's glued on real nice. And then I'm going to pull in my card base again. And I want to make sure that I don't go put any glue in this area. So I'm going to put this on backwards. I'm going to line up my edges here. Okay, so I can see I've got nice even spacing. I want to line it up about, what's about a half an inch. Let's go about a half an inch from the edges. Then I can see here that I've got my edge. Now I can either press a post-it note on the back here to know not to glue anything below that, or I could just place my glue right now. I'm going to use my post-it note here so I can take it off the card. And then I'm going to run a little bit of glue just on that upper half, making sure that I'm not going over. Now I know if I come back here and I go back to my 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, I definitely won't have glue on that bottom part. And you can see all fine in the back there. So there we go. And then all we have to do to finish this up is take our insert, and we're going to place our insert inside of our card. And there we go. This is the cutest little, you could either put a gift card holder, tuck in some cash maybe, or you can just write a beautiful note that they can take out, put on their fridge. Who knows how you'd like to do it? But these are super fun, made with free celebration paper and one bundle set. The terrific toadstools wins the day for today. I could have actually done this in pink just to maybe tie in that pink a little bit more. But I think this is super fun. Another way you can do it is use the very large toadstool head, which would cover a little bit more of the area. The last thing I would say I would want to do to this is bring in some fun embellishments. So I'm going to bring in some gold butterflies. Why not? That's super fun. We will add a little gold butterfly embellishment. We're going to have them coming right out of that toadstool garden there. That little butterfly is just flying through the air. And there we go. I think that looks pretty good. All finished up. Great little, you can use the thank you so much. Great little gift card holder or cash or whichever you choose. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope this inspires you. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will talk to you later. Bye.